So this is a picture of my wife, Shirai Tsuchiya. She used to be the lead singer of a all-girl Japanese punk band called Destroy. Now she's playing the Okinawan Sanshin, so she's mellowed out a little bit. But she's added more earrings. She's got 12 earrings now. So. And this is a story that's kind of about her, but it's called My Own Private Afghanistan. My Own Private Afghanistan. There's a popular saying in the Western world, which, rightly or wrongly, we believe to be a paraphrase from the Quran. If the mountain won't come to Muhammad, then Muhammad will go to the mountain. I never got to go to Afghanistan in its heyday as a hippie haven in the 1960s and 70s, but briefly, in the early 70s, in a cloud of smoke, Afghanistan came to me. Describing her trip to Afghanistan as a 27-year-old tourist in 1971, New York Times writer Carolyn Cott Washburn had this to say: "When we crossed the border from Iran to Afghanistan, we handed over the lengthy forms that the Iranian officials insisted that we fill out in triplicate. The Afghan official in charge took the forms, promptly deposited them in the wastebasket, and waved us on with a smile. At one toll house, the collector and his young assistant took our fee, then offered the men in the group a toke of hashish from their water pipe. It was this then universally famous, if illegal, export that introduced me to Afghanistan as a 28-year-old hippie on the west coast of Canada in the autumn of 1972, more than a lifetime away. It was black, powerful Afghani hash. The hash that I smoked during that memorable binge so many years and miles ago carried the added value of having been smuggled into Canada in the vagina of one of the most colorful characters in our coastal community, laden at that time with hosts of colorful characters. A blonde, statuesque Hollander, formerly a psychiatric nurse, named, appropriately, Trixie. But perhaps the most colorful character our little island produced in that bygone era was Ginger, who most of us knew only by her legend, and who had indeed supplied that resinous and aromatic dildaic contraband which Trixie generously laid, to use the vernacular current at the time, on our community. Ginger, who came to Pitlamp Island in the 60s with her husband Obi, a prolific author in the genre of books to be read with one hand, had earlier in the year run off with an aspiring rival novelist to, you guessed it, Afghanistan, where in short order she dumped her apparently inadequate new lover, leaving him to continue on to Australia, from whence he has yet to return, and drawing on her equestrian skills, garnered as a spoiled rich kid, embarked on a fantastic and fantastically profitable career as a drug lord, or perhaps we should more probably say drug lady, in the foothills of the Hindu Kush. Stories of Ginger riding across the steppes on a black Arabian stallion at the head of her own private army of Afghan horsemen and flowing robes, automatic rifles slung over their shoulders, and bandoliers of brass bullets crisscrossing their chests, fired the cannabis-enhanced imaginations of dozens of island hippies, myself included. As the 70s wore on, and hippies metamorphosized into yippies or yuppies, depending on their placement on the left or right of the socio-political spectrum, Trixie reluctantly left the island to take a job in a big Vancouver loony bin. Obi made an ill-fated and unsuccessful trip to Kabul to try to lure Ginger back to the bonds of marriage. He might just as well have asked her to don a burqa. And finally, at the end of 1979, those of us listening to CBC radio in our hand-tuned red cedar hippie houses learned of the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. It was the end of an era that lasted barely a dozen years. a time when KKK meant Kuta, Kabul, Kathmandu, when Janis Joplin could intro a song with the following: when you're traveling around in this world, looking for something to do with your life, just remember that the road don't end in Detroit, and the road don't even end in Kathmandu. But all you got to do is be a good man, one time, to one woman, and that's the end of the road. I never got to go to Kabul or Kathmandu. By the time I got to Kuta, it was a haven for beer-guzzling Australian football hooligans. Perhaps Ginger's ex-lover was among them, with nary a hippie to be seen south of Ubud. But I finally found that one woman. The trip to Kuta was part of our honeymoon. And whether I ever get to go to Nepal or Afghanistan or not, I guess, according to St. Janis, one of my own private gurus, I've reached the end of the road.